Our story begins more than 60 years ago inside an abandoned chicken coop, where our founder discovered a retired teacher living, no home, no health care. So she said no to this injustice and yes to transforming lives. It's this drive, this compassion, that inspired AARP. Today, we empower people to choose how they live as they age. As a wise friend and fierce defender, we advocate for better health, financial security, and stronger communities. AARP, join us in making a difference.
AARP is always delighted to partner with Habab, a local organization here in Lancaster County, showcasing the wonderful recipes from all over the world. And we hope that you enjoy the recipe that you can cook from your home today.
Thanks for joining us. My name is Emerson Sampaio with Hubbub, and today we're going to be journeying to the South Pacific.
Hi, my name is Samuel Solomon. I run Salamat Po Catering, which is a Filipino catering business here in Lancaster. And today we'll be making Filipino Chicken Adobo. So one of the first things that we want to do when we're cooking chicken adobo is prep the chicken. So I have a couple here that are already quartered out, but I'm just going to show you how I cut up the chicken. So right here, this is a chicken thigh. It comes with a drum and then a thigh piece right here. So normally what I do is I get this out the way. I try to find like a piece right here to cut into to separate the drum and the thigh. And it should come pretty quickly. The chicken, so it looks good for prep. So if we keep on looking at this, there's no bones, no hairs, and it's good to go. This one has a couple here, so we're going to just pick those off real quick, like so. And we're just going to trim off any of the excess skin and fat. So anything that doesn't look pretty when you are looking at it, my rule of thumb is you can just cut it off. We cut up our chicken, we're just gonna dry it. It doesn't have to be super dry, but just enough to getting rid of that excess moisture. And from here, we're going to toss this. So you don't want to add too much since the soy sauce in this dish is already going to add a lot of the salt flavor, but you just want enough salt just to flavor the chicken when you're doing it. So just a little more, and I believe that should be good. So the chicken's prepped. It can be set to the side for the time being. And we are now going to prep our rice and the rest of this. The next step in cooking Filipino chicken adobo is making your rice. So in this rice cooker here, we have 2 scoops of white rice. I have a little trick that I use when I'm making rice where you just want to wash it first. And you're going to just push your hand in there, make sure you get all the dirt that could potentially be in there out. And then you're going to pour that first batch of water out. And then now you just level out your rice and you go in again and make sure that no rice is on the side. And just going to kind of eyeball it. So I have a trick. So what you want to do is fill up the rice cooker to about right here. here on your finger, and that should give you like the perfect rice every single time. So right now that is good right there. So we'll put this back in the rice cooker, plug it in, and get our rice started while we cook. The next step in cooking this recipe is getting your pan piping hot, and we're gonna drop just a little bit of oil in there. Just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. That should be good right there. We'll tuck that to the side. Just spread our oil around the bottom. Like so. So we have, so right now we're just, like I said, just getting everything kind of golden brown, crispy before we take it out. So that should be good right And just a little bit, since we added a lot more earlier. So with the chicken that we have here, I'm gonna grab my tongs. We're just gonna add it in one by one, skin side down. I was reading on the history of chicken adobo in the Philippines, and it actually dates back pretty far. So one of the things that I found out was that a lot of people use vinegar to preserve their food. I'm not quite sure the timeline, but hundreds of years ago probably. And so they'd use vinegar to preserve their food, and then the Chinese actually came with soy sauce as well. And so when the Chinese came with soy sauce, among other recipes and things, the Filipinos started using soy sauce in the recipe. And the term adobo actually doesn't come from Filipino. It comes from the Spanish word adobar, which means to marinate. So Filipino chicken adobo is it's a melting pot of different cultures that have combine their thoughts and ingredients and love into making this dish here. So now it comes to the point where we add in some of our seasonings. So right here, first I'm going to eyeball about a teaspoon of ground black pepper. And we're just gonna sprinkle that all along the top there. I'm actually gonna switch to the bigger one. Oop, too much. Right there should be good. We're just going to mix that ground black pepper all throughout here now. That way it's not just on one chicken. And while all this is happening, your soy sauce is going to come to a boil. And now the second thing we're adding is this whole ground peppercorn. You can just grab either one hefty pinch, like I'm doing kind of here, or just 2 small pinches, all boiling up. One of the last things that we're going to add now is our vinegar. vinegar is a very strong flavor. You always, like I said, you want to add less first and then figure out your flavor, rather than just pouring a whole, third of a cup of vinegar inside of the chicken adobo. So we're just gonna start with half of this first, and you can also do it just depending on how you like to taste things. For me, I like very strong flavor profiles and things. So we're just gonna start with half of the cup right here. And stir it around. So after you get the vinegar in and the soy sauce and kind of like figure out your flavor palette or flavor profile for this, do a little bit more of a boil. So the one thing with Filipino cooking that I think is important to know is there's really no measurements when you're cooking food. You're just kind of doing things by taste, by sight, by feel. And I think that's how a lot of cooking should go.
Just this summer, there was a forum where Touchstone Foundation invited some people in the community, and I was invited, but unfortunately things fell through. But the panelists would work with former refugees that are students in our district. Right? Were you part of that one?
How its implications are in America.
Yeah.
And that was really cool just to see the students just learn about that, because you don't really learn that stuff in school.
That's awesome.
It's interesting. I mean, talking about intersectionalities with this dish right here, there were 3 different cultures that you mentioned. China, their introduction of the soy sauce, right. Spain with the name of it, and did you say adobo what?
Adobo.
Adobo, right, to marinate.
In Lancaster, you have to drive 50 miles to get Filipino food. And it's crazy. I'm gonna shout out somebody else. So me and another chef, a Filipino chef, his name's Cromwell, started very similarly, where in February I started a catering company, and he just started a Filipino food truck called Extra Rice, I believe, which I think is super cool. And just to have more people bringing in Filipino culture into Lancaster is super cool. Because I feel like the Filipino culture is kind of weird, because it's just there's pockets of everybody, and the pockets of people know other Filipino people, and they all get together, but nobody really knows about it. So just to have my catering company with my family, as well as another Filipino chef who really understands Filipino cuisine and makes it at a very high level, starting a food truck, I think that's super cool. And we're just gonna serve it on top of the rice. Here is our really easy, it takes about an hour or so to cook Filipino chicken adobo, and we are about to do a taste test. Let's get a review.
Very well seasoned. I love that it's not too salty. And that rice, you're right, it's not wet. I'm just gonna take a scoop of just the rice by itself with a little bit of sauce. And the smell of that's what I love about the adobo, is really the aroma. Not an overpowering taste or flavor. The level of vinegar, as Sam said, is not overwhelming. So as we saw in his demonstration, you could even add a little bit more soy sauce and vinegar. This is just a perfect level. And a really nice meal also for early in the daytime. And a light dinner even.
Anything you cook in vinegar lasts a very long time. So, you leave this in a pot for 2 days on the stove. You can just come back to it all the time, or put it in the fridge and then come back to it the next week.
You got dinner for a week.
Yeah, and I think all in all, for the amount that I cooked, I think I only spent about $15. You know, when you have ingredients and things that you're passionate about, you should be able to pour that love straight back into it, and following a recipe sometimes I feel like kind of limits you in the things that you're able to do. So I always say cook like a Filipino.